Sorry folks, bear with me one moment. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
The magic of tiny links, like amazing, saves my life every day. Okay, here we go. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone so much for coming out today to join us. I'm going to be talking about how sort of co-op principles and co-op style organizing are really great for empowering young people at all different kinds of scales, from local housing providers up to the global scale of advocating for youth priorities within the context of the UN system. So, just a bit about me. My name is Chris, and I am an MA Planning candidate at the University of Waterloo, where I'm studying development charges, super exciting, I know. I'm also the North American focal point for housing and sustainable urban development with the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, which I'll be talking about a little bit more as we go along. And I'm also a board member at Waterloo Co-operative Residents, Inc., down in the very exotic locale of Waterloo, Ontario. So what I'm going to be talking about today is illustrating that cooperative principles are really flexible and scalable. They're very youth-friendly, and they're really great for empowering young people to participate in sort of global initiatives and policy processes around intergovernmental negotiations and sustainable development, kind of at the global scale. And to kind of illustrate that, I'm going to be talking about my experiences with the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, which I got involved with about 3 years ago. So this is the sort of the list of cooperative principles that we're used to seeing. So they're the Rochdale principles, and they include a whole bunch of very good things that sort of cooperatives were supposed to embody and sort of are supposed to guide our work. The ones that are most relevant to the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, and that I've seen kind of enacted in my experience working with the major group, are 1 and 2 and 4 and 5, kind of as numbered on the slide. So voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, autonomy and independence, and of course kind of constant education and training. And so, as you can see, cooperative principles are really broad, they're flexible and scalable, and I kind of see them everywhere, in particular with the work that I've done kind of at the global scale with UNMGCY. So I'm just going to provide a little bit of background to kind of contextualize the environment in which cooperative principles are kind of being operationalized at the UN, for young people's advocacy in particular. So way back in 1992, so you're at the Rio Earth Summit. You're down in Rio de Janeiro. It's the UN Conference on Environment and Development. You're talking about all these important issues. You're talking about Agenda 21. You're talking about the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is sort of the process of which like COP21 or the Paris Agreement kind of came out of 20 years later. So really important stuff. Less well known is the Major Group Framework, which also came out of the Rio Earth Summit. So the Major Group Framework was a part of Agenda 21, which is essentially just this big laundry list of, yeah, sustainable development is awesome, we should kind of pursue it. And it also recognizes that in order to make sustainable development really happen, you need to have the participation of critical sectors of society. So you need children and youth, you need women, you need farmers, you need workers, you need everyone. That was the first time that member states, through a sort of even non-binding negotiation, decided to adopt that kind of measure and invite the participation of young people in particular. So fast forward 20 years, Rio Plus 20, Conference on Sustainable Development. We're seeing sustainable development being really mainstreamed across the UN system. We're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. We're talking about the High-Level Political Forum. And major groups kind of become extended into all manner of different processes, including the New Urban Agenda, including which came out of the third UN Convention on Housing and Sustainable Development, which happened a couple years ago down in Ecuador, which I had the amazing opportunity to attend. And so, I just bored you all with all that jargon and history to kind of illustrate that UN processes are really complicated and difficult to understand and also boring. And they're often informal and ill-defined, and for all those reasons, they're not very youth-friendly. But thankfully, because of the magic of cooperative principles, there are ways to kind of make them more youth-friendly, and there are ways to create spaces and opportunities for young people to be involved in these really critical processes, because we only have one planet. We gotta, I guess, change up some of our practices and the ways that we've been doing things over the last several hundred years, and co-op principles are allowing young people to kind of be involved, help enact those changes. So in 2018, fast forwarding a couple of years, the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, I'm just going to talk to you a bit about how it's structured, how we work. So we are open to any youth-led entity, and formally or informally organized youth or child-led or serving organization anywhere in the world. We're democratic and consensus-based, and sort of that's how we make our decisions and how we sort of come to the positions that we do and that we advocate for at these different UN meetings across the world. We are an autonomous and self-organized space mandated by the UN General Assembly to kind of provide and coordinate youth input into these processes, and that kind of necessitates constant education and training. We operate off of a shoestring budget. We don't really have any ongoing support. And what really makes, so we have this very challenging context where UN processes, again, aren't very youth-friendly. They're really difficult to understand. They're kind of boring, but they're complicated, but they're also really important. But through cooperative principles have kind of created a bit of a platform for allowing young people to be involved, creating those spaces, because really, we don't really have anything else at the UN level right now. So co-op principles broadly help facilitate youth input into UN sustainable development processes. And it's kind of amazing because the fact that the UN Major Group for Children and Youth sort of just spontaneously formed over the last 25-ish years is kind of amazing, and it's kind of a testament to the power of youth leadership, the power of co-op principles and co-op modes of organizing, and much similar to the fact that a lot of folks are kind of amazed when they hear about youth-led housing cooperatives, which have been around for over 50 years, because people think, oh, well, young people, they don't really know anything about anything. Like, how could they possibly manage all these properties and buildings over the course of several generations, where folks may be turning over, especially every 4 years when they sort of leave university. Young people can and do have the capacity to be leaders. Thank you all.